Amazon released this video on Twitter today showing founder Jeff Bezos visiting workers at a fulfillment center. The tour starts with Bezos getting his temperature taken. Amazon started selective testing for fevers at the end of March. It's now rolling out temperature testing company-wide in both the US and Europe and at its Whole Foods stores. The plan is to test hundreds of thousands of Amazon workers every day. Those with a fever of 100.4 or higher will be sent home until they've gone 3 consecutive days without one. But Amazon now wants to go way beyond testing for fevers. The company is planning to build its own COVID-19 lab to test its own workers. The plan is spelled out in a company blog post called Scalable Testing for Coronavirus. A dedicated team from many different parts of Amazon is now working to develop it. Tony Lystra is tech editor for the Puget Sound Business Journal. He says Amazon is a trillion-dollar company with a proven track record.
But Amazon has been able to do what even governments have failed to do. And that's, in this case, they're going to try to test at scale in a way that could make a measurable difference for their company during the pandemic.
Amazon is hinting at a larger benefit. The blog post saying if every person, including people with no symptoms, could be tested regularly, it would make a huge difference in how we are all fighting this virus. Until a COVID-19 vaccine is developed, this model of widespread testing is what most health experts say we need to slow down the pandemic. Leave it to the man who disrupted all of retail to scale up what many say the government should be doing right now.